Hey everyone, I'm building Zenergy, a terminal-style web app for developers dealing with burnout. If you guys want to check out what Zenergy is, head to zenergy-ai.com and go to the About page to learn more about Zenergy. This week, I built the authentication system, so everything from logging in, signing up, password resets, all of that work. But here are the 4 things I wanted to show you guys so you guys can do better when you guys are building your own side projects and indie dev tools. I had asked Claude Code to build authentication endpoints. It worked for the most part, everything else functioned fine, but I had no idea if it was secure or not. Instead of prompting Claude Code to build me a login system, I started asking what security issues am I missing when it comes to my authentication system. For every feature I built this past week, I asked what injection attacks could happen, what are enumeration risks, what should I validate in terms of input. And so different error messages for email doesn't exist versus wrong password. If you guys don't notice the problem, there are different error messages for email doesn't exist versus wrong password. So theoretically, an attacker could try to type in a lot of random emails and get invalid email. Once they get a real email, they get invalid password. Now they know that account exists for that specific email. That is what user enumeration is. So in order to fix that, I went ahead and wrote the generic error for this invalid password check. Enumeration is impossible. And so the big takeaway here is that you have to ask AI to teach you what you should be worried about, then use that output to fix it all together. So that way you're still learning while still making your app less vulnerable in terms of security. Supabase has a database branching feature. It's $10 a month, but I found a way to do it for free and it works better for me and Zenergy. The problem is that you need 2 separate environments if you're going to do it for free. You need a project for dev and you need one for production that will have real user data. And so testing in production can lead you to potentially breaking things for real users down the line. So for my workaround, we have 2 separate Supabase projects, both free tier, 500 megabytes each. It's plenty enough for Zenergy. MCP lets Claude Code connect to my dev database to help with queries, and it never touches production. I'm going to show you guys how I move changes from dev to production. I link to dev, I pull the schema as SQL files, and then I link it to prod, pushing those files to prod, and I track it all in Git so everything is version controlled. And if anything goes wrong down the line, I can see what I wrote, and that will make it easier for debugging. In regards to the MCP, this config tells Claude Code how to connect. Notice the project ID. For my specific project for Zenergy, I'd set it to the dev project ID and not on production. And as part of the arguments as well, I set it to read only. Rate limiting prevents brute force attacks. You can only try logging in 5 times per minute. The problem that I encountered was that serverless functions have no memory between requests. They spin up in different containers. In memory, counters reset every time, so you can't really track rate limits this way. Most people use Redis to circumvent this. I just used Postgres since I already have it in tandem with Supabase, of course. This table called auth rate limit keeps track of the IP, the email, how many times this specific entity tried to log in, things of that nature to keep track of what is happening in terms of the rate limit when it is being instantiated. And we have this Postgres function as well. This function checks if you're over the limit. If that time window expired, it resets. If you're under the limit, it increments. If you're over, it blocks you from logging in. All of this happens atomically, so there are no race conditions even with simultaneous requests. I also limit by both IP and email. Shared Wi-Fi means multiple people on the same IP, and you can't spam someone else's email with password resets. And a big thing to keep in mind, if Postgres is down and the rate limit checks fail, I let the request through anyway. This is called failing open. If your rate limiter blocks everyone during an outage, you've kind of made it worse. So it's better to let some traffic through than block all legitimate users. Supabase sends basic auth emails by default, so this involves plain text, really hard to put in branding. You can customize them, but you need SMTP servers, and I didn't want to spin those up. In tandem with Supabase, we set up a service called Resend. Supabase auth hooks trigger a webhook when someone signs up. That webhook calls an edge function in Supabase. The function builds a custom email and sends it via Resend. Resend gives 3,000 free emails per month plus audience management, so I can automatically add signups to my mailing list. As for my email template that I am sending out, this is the simple HTML email template. And so it is a dark terminal aesthetic. Notice escape HTML on the name. That is the most important part. When it comes to the escape HTML function, this prevents XSS attacks. If someone set their name to, for example, say a script with hack as the function being called in that script, this converts it to safe text instead of executable code ran with JavaScript. I also went ahead and removed control characters. This is stuff invisible like new lines and null bytes that could break formatting as well. And then we send the email and add them back to the mailing list. One serverless function. There's no SMTP involved, set up on your end, and everything is version controlled with all of the email templates. Next week, I'm building the actual task management features. The terminal UI will be for creating tasks and tracking tasks as well. I'm going to be implementing some AI. The AI will analyze patterns to predict burnout before it happens. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you guys are notified when the next video comes out.